Hey everybody, my name is Melanie and this is Survive Better Together. And you know, I had recently done a video where I talked about it was a veterans thing, but then I also was talking about a prepper highway, and I belong to a group on Facebook, and there was something that came up within that group, and I had made a comment about that, and since then I have received lots and lots and lots of comments, private messages. People have been reaching out a lot. It's drawn a lot of attention, and now I'm getting emails about it. It seems to be something that people are very, very, very interested in, and that gets me excited because everybody else is getting excited, and wow, I actually had a good idea. There is some pros and cons to it, obviously, but let's talk about it. I've been doing a lot of work on it and listening to what folks have been saying to me or expressing ideas, and so hopefully I can get through this in one video. So a deep dive into a prepper highway. So if you did not watch the previous one, a super quick recap is, say you have family on one side of the United States, or even just a state away, 2 states away, and you want to get them to you. You know that you're the house that has what am I thinking of? Like, you have the land, you have a garden, you have room for more people. Your place is the designated place that you've got people coming, or your group, or other family members, children. How do you get them from where they are to where you are? If it's maybe a couple towns away, and let's just say as an example that an EMP hits, well, okay, we could probably handle walking that, but there's so many things that need to be thought about if it's longer than that. And so that was really just, so many people had so many things to say, and I really found it fascinating. I loved it, having everybody just get involved and make comments, and even the ones that weren't necessarily for it, but they offered some tips and just like their thoughts, and very valid. Everything's valid. I was just thrilled. The number one concern that seemed to come about was, how do you vet these people? How do you know if there's somebody you can trust with your loved ones? Let's say, for example, it's your child, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to talk to my kid ahead of time. Tell my child that this is the direction you need to go, and I want you to go to this house, to these perfect strangers, and you're going to be able to stay the night there, get a meal, maybe restock some supplies, and move on to the next house. How does that play out? We don't know 100%. We can make something like this work, but great ideas. So the number one thing is, you really have to get physical maps. So you need to have a physical map so you can basically draw a line across from wherever you're going to wherever you're going, whatever direction that you envision. These maps need to look at certain things. We're gonna say, as an example, that you've got some family, and we're gonna say they're down here in Savannah, Georgia, okay? So you've got family here, and let's say you need to get to some small town up here in Colorado, okay? We're just giving examples. So you need to be able to say, okay, this is basically the direction that I need to go, right? but you need to be able to look at certain things to avoid. So we know that we don't want any major cities. I can't write with one hand and hold the camera. Sorry guys, I apologize. So you don't want to hit any major cities along the way. So already you need to plan and look for your map around. Honestly, I would say avoid any town that's over like 30,000, because you're going to have greater chances of chaos and being seen the smaller the town, or as much back road as possible. Granted, if it's a dire situation like an EMP and no vehicles work, I mean, you can't drive and you may have to potentially go way out of your way. You've got to have some maps. Like, there's no way around it. The other thing you need to plan for is major river crossings. You know, there's some pretty big rivers, and if you have to cross a river and it's too big, what's going to happen? It's going to force you to go to a bridge. Those bridges could potentially be held by certain, let's say, less favorable people that are watching for that, and they may shoot, they may try to gain funds, they may try to, I can't even let your mind run wild with the ideas of what they could do. But you need to think about any major waterway crossing. And then on top of that, you need to look out for certain mountain ranges. There is several very large mountain ranges within the United States, and if your point of travel crosses over one, you've again got another situation that could potentially add more time. And if you're traveling, you know, from one side of the US all the way to the other, or vice versa, you know, or even this way, you're talking a very, very long travel time. It is imperative that you have somewhere for your loved ones to stay. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, so another thing that was talked about is if you can set up this, what I'm calling a prepper highway with people, you're gonna need to supply them ahead of time. Now it's a little bit harder just to send, you know, mail food or whatever like that, canned goods, but if you build these relationships with them, you very well could potentially go ahead and send them, like, make an agreement, like, you know, I will send you $50 for this family of 4 for a night. You know, that should be enough to buy them food, and they need to put that money into that food. They can even send you a picture of it. I mean, right now where things are working, use it. The other thing I was looking out for is weather. There's gonna be, especially depending on the time of the year, I mean, you could have extreme heat, which I know so many people are experiencing, but you could also have extreme snow, tornadoes. I mean, there's been a lot of those lately too. So it's all stuff that can affect the area of travel, and so it's gonna cause possibly delays as well with your loved ones getting to where you need them to be, right? So what happens if your loved one finally gets to, I don't know, they've been through point A and they get to point B, maybe they have C and D left to go, but they get, let's say they get to point B and the people they're supposed to meet are not there. What if they had to leave due to a situation that was out of their control? Or what if it was taken over? So with that, we obviously can't help it if somebody leaves their post. There was obviously a reason. Most people don't intentionally just leave unless it's, you know, in a good sized town or whatever. An emergency, something would drive them out. They wouldn't leave. If they were out on a farm, you know, 20 miles from town, they were not just going to leave it for no reason. Something happened to make them leave. However, if they are still there, or maybe somebody else is there, you need to know that that is the people, especially if, you know, you're sending your loved ones there and you've never met these people. Maybe you have, but maybe you haven't. So what does that look like? So one of the gals, she had a fantastic idea, and a lovely lady named Shannon came up with a really great idea about having signals like hobo signals. Now, if you're not familiar with that, that was something what hobos used to use as they were traveling on the train, going from place to place. Not necessarily like the homeless we see today, but they would have signals, and that would mean certain things, like the lady at the house was home, or you can get a meal here, you can sleep in the barn tonight. Like, it was a communication that they used, and it was well known. I'm gonna go ahead and show you these now. Now, I will also put a little snippet of these in the description box so you can kind of familiarize yourself with these. If everybody, I guess, kind of knows the same group of signals, if we don't make it too much, that would help. It would be a huge indicator. And those were used really a lot during like the Great Depression, and all the way up until the 40s, or maybe even the 50s, I believe. So you got a map figured out, and you've got, you need to figure out who you're going to make this deal with. Now, that's probably going to be, honestly, one of the hardest things to figure out ahead of time, but you have to ahead of time, right? So first thing I'm thinking of doing, and if you guys have a better idea, I mean, man, let me know. I mean, I want to, anything we can do to work together to try to figure this out. But what I'm thinking is, first of all, reach out to family. And you would probably be surprised, especially family that doesn't live in your state. You don't have to just bring it up cold out of the blue, but start talking to them. Make that conversation happen now instead of when it's too late, unless you know that you have a very actively prepping family member. But I would honestly just reach out to them and say, oh, hey, how's it going? Just talking about things, and then something to the effect of, yeah, we're really been focusing on getting food put away in case something happens, and trying to figure out, you know, where I can send so-and-so to on their way out here, and, you know, and then maybe even a conversation later or anything, say, hey, you know, you start talking to them more, be in communication with them. That's going to be super vital. But then maybe a conversation or two later, say, you know, I was thinking about it a lot. If I send you like $50 now for you to just go out and maybe get a can of peaches and, you know, a jar of peanut butter and like, ooh, I just had a whole bunch of lightning. You know, maybe some, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Maybe some bottled waters, maybe a couple cans of soup, stuff like that. Say, if I, and potentially, you know, there might be some other, maybe a tub of baby wipes would be very helpful. But anyway, say if I were to send you $50 to just get these 10 items or whatever, would you mind getting them? And then if something ever were to happen down the road, I can tell my kid that they can come to you, or my brother or my cousin, or just whoever you got going, right? And they might think it's a great idea, they might not, and they might even say, yeah, but I'm gonna send so-and-so my way, can they stop at your house? I mean, you can trade it off like that. And then the more you start having these conversations, you can explain what you're doing, how there's other people trying to do this, and say, you know, we're trying to find a safe place that we can send them between your house and my house. Like, do you know of anybody you would trust with your family? And they might say, yeah, my husband's brother's cousin, he's a big time prepper and he would I'm sure he would do it. Let me talk to him. I'll get back to you. I mean, that would be a great way to kind of help vet people. You might not personally meet him, but if they reach out and make that first contact, then you can then get in contact, potentially do a FaceTime, even offer to drive up, say, hey, you know, if you want to meet me, I can meet you. I'll bring you some money. I'll bring you food. You know, make that connection, make it happen now so that you know, and you can tell your family member, hey, you're going to go down this road. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be, you know, really no houses and you're not going to see it. But you need to go down the road, and then there's going to be a gravel road to the right, and it's not, you're going to think that's not it. You know, give it direction, and that way you have a really good idea. So when you're making maps and you're trying to figure things out, you can get it all tidied up. It wouldn't even hurt to put something in a manila envelope with all these specific instructions, maybe even the signals, because I know if I was doing this for my kids, which I'm probably going to be doing, I know that they would not remember it. They wouldn't do the research on it. You know, you're going to have to be the parent or the one that's probably going to make most of the effort, but you're going to want to know when it comes down to it that they at least have a fighting chance. So that would be, it's going to be the hard part. You're going to have to do a lot of conversations and a lot of phone calls. But if you know, if more of us start reaching out to people, that's how it's going to work. That's how you're going to build that prepper highway so you can talk to each other ahead of time. Get the communication lines open. Start building the trust and that relationship with the people, because if they know you and they've been talking to you, they're going to feel a lot better about taking in somebody you're sending to them. And then the other thing that was brought up a million times is communication. Now, I do highly recommend doing a ham radio and doing a ham radio course so you can have all the proper equipment. Now, your handheld radios, oh my gosh, that was such big lightning. Like, hopefully that doesn't put a fire. Anyway, and I just, as a side note, I'm still in a hotel, in case you can't tell, and I'm looking out my second story window at this really black cloud and storm that's rolling in. Ugh. Anyway, totally lost my train of thought. So ham radios, excellent idea. It's a great way to communicate, and it would be really nice to maybe have, I don't know, start building these relationships now, and then, you know, eventually all of us could be talking to each other and we can help each other out. That, I mean, really, like, right? I have not taken my ham radio course, but that is something I'm planning before fall. If that's something you guys want to know about or want to know how it goes, what all the steps you need to take to do this, I'm more than willing to put a video out there. I've done quite a bit of research on it already, but I'm probably not going to put out a video until I'm completed with everything. And right now, my housing situation has to come first. So those are kind of like the major things that you can spider off on so many things, but those are the main talking points. So obviously you need to start communicating with family or friends in other states so you can maybe work out some kind of deal with them. Start breaking down those conversations easily, and then once you have it with them, say, boy, yeah, now I'm really struggling. I got to find somebody to get from, where do we say, Alabama to let's say Kansas. We're going to Kansas, you know, like you got to pick, and that's too long of a stretch for somebody, so they need to have a place to stay in between that. It's not like they're driving, they're walking, and you're probably going to need, depending on how many states or Even one state would be a lot on foot. So you need to really start dialing in this. It is a long process, and it is probably going to take you a very long time to really get all the help you're going to need, especially if it's a very long distance. But it's never going to get completed if you don't start working on it now. And you may only get 2 of them. 2 is better than none. Honestly, it really is, especially if it's something that major. So build the communications, get the maps, get the signals that I'll put them down below, kind of learn them, because we can all use those together. And then, you know, get some communication. And if you guys have, like I said, if you have better ideas, more ideas, if you want to add to this, like, keep talking with me. Let's see what we can figure out. I do think it personally, I mean, it's a good idea. But you know, you gotta vet people. You gotta make sure you're not sending, especially if it's your kids, you don't want to be sending your kids to some crazy guy's house that's, you know, walking around with a shotgun with his eyes all day, you know. So, I mean, there is some concern, but that's why you need to talk to people now. And I definitely would start with family. I think that's your safest bet, because, you know, they're the ones you can or should be able to trust beyond a perfect stranger. And if your family can help you, they may be able to give you somebody's name that can be that in-between person. So think about it. Let me know what you think. I mean, it's a big one, but like I said, I'm gonna do it. I care about my family too much, and all along, as I've said in previous videos, if you've been watching for a while, all along, I've already been planning for my kids just in case. With knowing that, I know that I want to make sure my kids can get to me. I'm the one that, you know, does most of the prepping. They don't see it the same way I do. Sorry, it's so distracting. There's just lightning in every direction out there. But definitely think about it, ponder it, start putting plans in place. I mean, is it going to hurt? Probably not. And even if you don't have anybody you want coming to you, you may know somebody else that may need somebody to be able to get to them. Maybe you can be that house that one of their loved ones can stop at and at least get a decent night's sleep and not feel like they have to, you know, sleep somewhere sketchy, or you know, maybe not even sleep at all, or maybe not even have a place to eat. I can't imagine, if you're walking along, how hard it might be to find food at that point. So really getting this set up is critical. You might even call it life or death when it comes to that situation. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Definitely feel free to like, subscribe, and share, and put some comments down there, because we need to work together to see if we can make this happen. Take care.